Good morning. Good morning, my bachelors and my bachelorettes out there. This is Lee Nicole, the bachelorette on Sipping Tea with S.W.P. on this beautiful Saturday morning. How'd everybody out there doing this morning? Everybody got their breakfast going? What's going on out there? How we doing out there today? I got my tea going. It's pretty quiet where I'm at because I'm in my closet. This is Closet Chronicles today. I got my big city behind me, New York City, where I was born and raised and bred, and I was actually born in Manhattan. So that's Manhattan right there. That background. Got a little bit of everything there where you can see my big city. I don't know which way to move my big body. We even got oh boy, the hot dog stand. We got the buses going. We got everything going. And it's real poignant that I wanted to have this picture because this is our concrete jungle. This is my concrete jungle. And I wanted to talk about Jesus, of course, today because this is Holy Week, right? Holy Week, not Holy Day. It's Holy Week. And we celebrate Christmas. We celebrate Thanksgiving. We give it the whole week. We celebrate Halloween. We give it a whole weekend. And, this is the most important week of the year right here. Most important week. We already came in with Palm Sunday. We done got through the rest of the week. Of course, we know Thursday was the Last Supper when Jesus was with his disciples. And I wanted to go into my story today is going really into the night of the Last Supper when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane and when they arrested him, and actually going into that morning and that day of his crucifixion. I really didn't get on to talk about it Friday because I had to work. But why it's real more poignant that I came on today is we always skip Saturday. We skip Saturday. We just jump right into Sunday when he is risen. And again, this is Holy Week, and we want to remember Jesus every day, not only during Holy Week, but every day. So my story today is real good. I got to get up my little bubbles and blabbles, but I do have a good story today. And of course, the camera's going to be off because I have some visual for you also. So just bear with me as I get this started, okay? And thank you for listening to my Saturday morning story time. We used to have the Saturday we used to have the after school specials. Saturday morning, we used to get up and Channel 7 used to be popping, everything used to be educational. We used to have the funny cartoons. So, yeah, this is Saturday morning. And thank you for waking up and sharing story time with me again. Hold on, bear with me. Okay. So, of course, we want to start of who Jesus is, which we all know he is the good shepherd. He is the one that came to gather his sheep, and he laid down his life for his sheep. All right. And no one took that life from him. He gave it away willingly, willingly as a lamb, willingly. And I've been telling Jesus, I've been talking about Jesus since before Palm Sunday. I did it deliberately. I started that Friday before Palm Sunday. And I just wanted to go back to some of the stuff that I was talking about before Palm Sunday. And that was we was remembering Jesus as a child. Just some poignant parts about remembering Jesus on this Holy Week is as a baby, he was chosen, and as a kid, he was groomed, and he was the lamb, and he was learning his purpose from a little kid. And as us, if we're going to emulate him, right, especially during Holy Week, remembering him, the most important part is to remember we always want to remain our hearts and our humility want to remain as a childlike, so we can learn from him. And how he learned from his father was as a little kid. And since we're all grown, we just want to keep having that same humility. So that's a great picture of him, his dad teaching him when he was a little kid. That's what that is right there. And then, of course, when he was getting baptized, also, that's when John was baptizing him. And God was saying that that is his beloved son. The sky opened up, the Holy Spirit came down, and he was baptized by John. And then, of course, I also was talking about Jesus being in the wilderness. Jesus was a regular man. He went in the wilderness and was tempted with the devil, just like all of us are being tempted every day. And, Jesus is the way. He's going to lead us, right? And his whole purpose and his whole point in this day and time is he was being tested. And he's the only one that won against the enemy with all the tests, all those tests in the wilderness, all those tests. He remained humble, even through his hunger, no matter what came his way. Uh, and the devil tested him and God tested him. He won, and he got to this point on where the part where I'm getting to. The Last Supper, not even the Last Supper, just that Thursday night. Okay, he's out in the Garden of Gethsemane. It's real dark. I want everybody to get this visual in your mind. Okay, it's real dark that night. The moon, just like when we be outside on a beautiful night coming from the club, is real dark. And Jesus is out there in the garden, and he's out there praying. Now, hold on, because I want to take that banner off. I don't want no distraction. Hold on. And he's out there in the Garden of Gethsemane. And I also, before we get to that, because I wanted to get this important part, what is the main message in the Garden of Gethsemane? The account of Jesus praying in the Garden of Gethsemane before taken away to be crucified is one of the most personal glimpses into the relationship between Jesus and his Father, God. It shows us the close relationship and trust Jesus had with his Father. So one big poignant part is he had to go out there and pray in that quiet time, and that's where he was before he was arrested, because he had a heaviness on him. He had a weight. Jesus was scared. Even though he's the true soldier and the true gangster, just like a lot of gangsters. We all have the spirit of fear sometimes. And Jesus was going out in that garden because that was his fortress. That's where he got his strength. And he went out there to cry out to God. So that's basically why that garden was very important to him. It was his isolation, his quiet time. He could hear God and cry out to him. And then here it says, why is the Garden of Gethsemane important? The Garden of Gethsemane was a place of great importance to Jesus. Okay, it says refers to all in the four Gospels as a place where Christ retreated into deep prayer and a time of agony before his arrest and crucifixion, and near where he ascended to heaven in the books of Acts. So all of this took place by this garden. All right. It says here, this is where he retreated into deep prayer. All right. He would go into prayer when he was in agony. It's another important part. When we in pain, we go to the hospital. When we in pain, we may call our parents. We may call somebody to come help us. But this is when he was in agony. Okay. And this is the most crucial agony, because he about to give his life and be murdered at a time. This is where he went and to get his solace, to get his strength, to get his power. Okay, so it says Christ retreated into deep prayer and at a time of agony before his arrest and crucifixion, and near where he ascended into the heavens. So even after he came back and rose, even near this garden is where he ascended into the heavens. So this was a very important garden. And then it also says, why is the Garden of Gethsemane so crucial to Jesus' life? And we want to read it down. If it is possible, let this cup of suffering be taken away from me. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's not what that is to. It says, what was Jesus afraid of? Because when Jesus was in this garden, when he went to this garden, he was going because he was afraid. So he was going to God because he knew he couldn't run. So he was going to God for strength. And when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was saying, if it is possible, at the bottom I'm reading, if it is possible, let this cup of suffering be taken away from me. Yet I want your will to be done, not mine. And Jesus prayed 3 times to avoid the cross. He certainly experienced anxiety over his coming torture and gruesome death. So even before his death, which I'm getting ready to show y'all all the pictures, I just want to read it descriptively because I don't want y'all to see only the pictures. Jesus was very stressed out. He had a lot of anxiety. he was basically in that garden weeping and crying. That they said his tears was almost blood coming out. That's how scared he was. That's how much he was in there asking God, can he stop all this? All right. And I know we can imagine sometimes when we be in places when we be begging God, not to take a loved one away from us, not to give us strength, give us back our health. Even when we may be on our deathbed, we be begging for our lives, right? So this is the same time how Jesus was feeling when he was in this garden. He was at his lowliest. He was begging God for strength. And why did he have to go through this? Okay. So that is what the Garden of Gethsemane was to Jesus. It was his refuge. It was his protection place. It was where he went and got his strength. So now we're going to get back to the dark night. That night when all this was occurring, and Jesus is out in the Garden of Gethsemane, like I just stated, and he's out there praying. And he told Peter and all of them, be on the lookout. Just like we be on the block and we be doing something and we want somebody to look out for us, because remember, Jesus was ducking and dodging all these people. God, they wanted to arrest Jesus so many times, but it was God's timing. It was God's timing. There's no one else's timing. That's another moral to the story. It's always God's timing. So since they couldn't get Jesus this night, Jesus, there was something in his spirit, especially knowing the Last Supper, that he knew this was the night. None of the other disciples knew this. He knew this. He knew the spirit. Okay. So the disciples were, they was just thinking, okay, Jesus going out there to pray again. This is what Jesus do. He go away. He go pray. They not thinking that Jesus is scared, that Jesus know that the time is coming, because Jesus is not telling them this. So they just on a regular lookout. They done ate supper. They tired. They over by the tree. Imagine you just ate and you all full. And your people say, hey, I'll be right back. I'm going to go over here and pray. And they tell you to look out. And you all full got niggeritis. And you sitting up on a tree. And y'all all take a nap. Y'all all take a nap. While the person tell you, because, a lot of us be on the block because we be watching people because they out there selling drugs. They be out there doing illegal things. Or they be part of gangs. And we want to make sure nobody come on our block and infiltrate. We out there doing all types of stuff, watching our block. But this particular night, this is Jesus telling his crew, his disciples, be on the lookout, stay woke. And you can see here, Jesus is weak himself in the garden. So that's why he need them to be woke, because he out there praying for his own strength. And he goes over to Peter and them, as you can see, in his weakest time. And he sees that they sleep. And he can't believe it. As you can see in his eyes, he looking at them like, I can't believe they sleep on the block. And he tells Peter, what are you doing sleep? I asked you to stay woke. The rest of them sleep. John, other disciples, they all sleep under the tree. All he did was ask them to stay woke. And he asks them at that time, you could not even watch 1 hour with me. And that's how we be at these days and times. See, it's Holy Week. We only want to have fun and think about Jesus when it's convenient. And like I say, today is Saturday. A lot of people don't think about Saturday. We go right into Easter, or we focus on Good Friday when he's crucified. But the whole point is, when Jesus asked them to be on the lookout, it was for a reason, because the guards are about to come arrest him. And he was testing them, not only for the guards to arrest him, because he know he's going to be arrested. But if you can't be on the lookout, when it's so most important, how you going to plant seeds for my future sheep? How you going to be on point when the enemy comes? So that's what he's really telling them to be woke about. They're thinking it's just, be woke by the tree, because we're protecting Jesus. But in the long run, as we being transparent to this day, if you're not woke, and already Jesus has sacrificed himself, so we surely not looking out for him to be crucified again. So what we looking out for? We looking out for the enemy. We looking out for the trick of the enemy. We looking out for people, places, and things. And if you're not woke and alert, and you sleep like Peter and them, you're going to be sleep on the job. And all Jesus said, to remember him and to emulate him. So, of course, we're not the disciples back in the day. So how are we going to remember him? We're going to remember him with false prophets. We're going to remember him when people try to come to you and tell you to take oaths and sell your soul. We're going to remember him every day. We're going to have intimacy with him. We're going to have a relationship. He's our brother. We're going to give God all the glory because that's why he sent Jesus. So that's why he planted all this stuff in his disciples and wanted them to be woke, because he was going to leave them all this wisdom and they were going to be the fishermen for us. So if you can't be woke on the job now and I'm about to get arrested, how important this night is, how you going to be woke when I'm gone? So Jesus is not only telling them to be woke so he won't get arrested. He know he going to get arrested. He trying to teach them. And in his parables, they don't even know back then because they scared. They mad because Jesus caught them sleep. They like, oh God, I'm sorry, Jesus. You know, I ain't know I was asleep. And like I said, that's Jesus over there praying in the garden. And they say, Master, what happened? Because now they woke up and they frazzled dazzled. They see Jesus looking weak. You know, they used to Jesus being real strong, but Jesus is actually was just over there praying and crying because, you know, he knows it's his time that he's about to get arrested in a few minutes. So when they see him like this, they like, Master, what is wrong? You know, we just left you to go pray. You looking so weary. And they asked him, do we need backup? Because Jesus is telling them, you know, like the time is coming, you know, and they asked him, do we want backup? And he told John, his cousin, because John is out there, Peter and another disciple. And he told John, no, I don't want the rest of them to see me like this. So that's how you know Jesus was feeling overwhelmed. And at this time, when he was at his lowliest times, he notices his time. So as us being human beings, we don't need people around all the time. Okay. He already didn't want these people to see him at his weakest, because then they would fear, you know, see him when he weak. So he wanted them to remain strong. Remember him when he was strong, not when he looking weak. He wanted his disciples only to be around him. Okay. So that's him telling John, don't go get no more help. Like he don't want no help. He don't want people to come fight for him. He already know this arrest is about to happen. He's a sacrifice. He ain't going out fighting. He gonna be a willing sacrifice. And remember, this is the night that they about to come. And then the disciples, they confused. They just woke up from the tree. Remember, they just had a supper. They looking around like we was all just in there washing feet, having a party. Now we out here by the tree. Jesus is looking like he got blood coming from his eyes. He out here distressed with a lot of anxiety. And they woke up and they saying, are you in danger? Should we flee, Master? And Jesus is looking at them and he said, stay here and watch. Just stay and watch. And when he leaves, because Jesus goes back over to continue praying to them, because he just came to check on them, to tell them to wake up because they wasn't on point. He know the guards is about to come. So he, in his spirits, Jesus knows what we're doing even when we're not there. So his discernment, after he was over there praying and crying to God, told him, go wake up the boys because the guards are about to come. He don't want them to get caught while they sleeping. I got to wake up my peoples. So Jesus went and woke up his sheep the same way he wake us up every day. Got to put us on point. And he put them on point. And when he walks away, they say, they remember. Remember, he was talking about danger was coming while we was eating. That's John and Peter talking. John, like, what's going, you know, what is he talking about? He's talking in parables again. What does he mean? And John asks him, you know, what's wrong with him? And Peter, remember, you know, like he said, he was talking about danger. And then Peter tells him, remember, he mentioned betrayal. And that's because Judas has already went out. Judas, who's one of the disciples, because remember, this is the night he's getting arrested, and already went out to the Romans and gave and got them coins. But Jesus couldn't tell them that Judas was the one doing this, because remember, that's not his job to snitch. That's not his job to tell everybody what's about to happen. It all has to happen organically. So if he was to tell these people that Judas was doing this and Judas was doing that, they probably would have stopped Judas. So all he was telling them was parables. You know, betrayal is going to happen tonight. This is the night of this and that. And remember, back then, they're not understanding what Jesus is saying. They just listening to every word he's saying. So while Jesus is out there praying, right? Of course, I'm going to show you this part. Because that's when he was out there and he was talking to Peter. I just want to show you that part when he was out there talking to Peter before he went back in the garden. And now, as he was in the garden, of course, who was out there in the garden while he was praying? It was the enemy, because the enemy always want to know who are you here for? And the enemy was out there asking him while Jesus was out there praying, who he out here praying for. Okay, and I'm sorry I skipped to that. And when the enemy was out there with him, right? Sorry, I had to take a little slides and messed up a couple of slides. He's mad because Jesus is praying. The same way he be mad when we praying. And he sends that serpent over there to Jesus to confuse Jesus, to figure out who he is. And that serpent get ready to get up on Jesus. Right? But Jesus stands up. It's not a good picture, but that's his foot. And the power of God. All that praying he was doing, he was crying blood. He was over there asking God, please stop what's about to happen to me. But when that serpent came over there, he already knew what was next to him. And he got up and he stepped on it with his foot. Okay, he put that serpent beneath him. The same way we gonna go through stuff these days and times. And the enemy gonna come while we praying. It's gonna look like it ain't in our favor. And he gonna send stuff our way. Okay. And we gonna have the same way. Put it under our foot and believe. Okay. So this is why I'm showing you these images, because this night, this particular night, while Jesus know he about to be arrested, these are the things that he's going through before he's being arrested. He's already in the Garden of Gethsemane. He got Peter and them on the lookout by the tree. He over there praying. The enemy in the garden with him, asking who he is, what he doing here. Okay. He got to go back, wake Peter and them up. Okay. Because he already know that the Romans are coming. And Peter and them is astonished. So they just following him, looking like, what's going on? What is going on? So now we get to back before this happens, because this is where he gonna end up to be, right? This is where he gonna end up to be. And I hope I save. I'm so sorry, guys. This is when I have to get to this part. When he's about to be arrested, he's in the Garden of Gethsemane. He's out there with his disciples. They just had the Last Supper, and his mother is asleep. This is Mary. And she wakes up with her discernments. I want us to know, as parents, when we know in our gut when something happened to our child or whatever, these is the night when everybody was happening to everybody this night. And if we want to remember Jesus and we want to remember him as a real person, and we watch all these Tyler Perry stories, we watch all these other movies and directors that wrote this. This is how his night went, okay? And his mother wakes up, and Mary Madeline is in there with her. She says, "What, Mary? What is it?" And Mary, in her gut, knows that it's about to begin, okay? Because as a parent, Mary has been there for her child, okay? When he fell as a little kid, she raised him. She's been protecting him. She's been protecting him. She's been protecting Jesus from a little boy. So you think this night, when her baby about to be arrested, and God gave her a baby from the Holy Spirit, that he ain't going to give her a heads up what's about to happen? Oh, yeah, he gave her a heads up. When they arrested her baby, she woke up in the middle of the night. She woke up in the middle of the night. You hear me? Because, like I said, Mary has been protecting her baby, a mother, from birth. And that night was the worst night for her, because it was the beginning of the end. It was the beginning of her losing her child. It was the beginning of her little Yahshua, her Jesus, about his demise. Okay? And also, what I want to show you, that's Mary running to him before he fell. That's Mary as a mother. How much we want to run and protect our kids when they scrape their knee. When they run and scrape their knee. She was running to catch him before he fall. And that's her and Jesus on the floor. That's her and her baby. Her looking him in his eyes and saying, "Is you okay?" So on this night, as he's getting arrested, she wakes up. She wakes up in the middle of the night, her baby about to be arrested. Okay? And Mary Madeline said, "What's wrong, Mary?" And she knows that it's about to happen. She knows that Judas done sold out her baby to the Romans, okay, to the Jewish kings, and they're about to arrest him, okay? The Jews gave him over. So it says, we are looking for the Jesus of Nazareth, okay? We are looking for the Jesus of Nazareth. That's when they are there to arrest him. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me go back down here. I had it on so it says right here, this is when they arrest, right? This is when they arrest him. And as disciples, and we on the block, right? And somebody come on our block, we could be gang members, drug dealers, or just people that's protecting our block in the army, we somewhere, we're gonna fight, right? We're gonna fight. So his disciples, which is Peter and them, they started fighting the guards. Like they were shocked to see these guards found them. They were shocked to see that they found Jesus. And that's why Jesus was telling them to wake up, be on point, but not to fight, just to be alert. So when they started fighting, Jesus was looking like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because he didn't expect them to fight. And Peter, I will show this in particular, that sword, he ends up cutting off one of the man's ears. And during this same night, Jesus was just in the garden praying to God, please don't let this happen to me. I'm scared. He's almost crying blood from his eyes from begging God. He had anxiety. He'd been depressed. He had a rough night. And now he's in here about to be arrested. He's telling his people, don't fight, because he's a willing sacrifice. So he's telling Peter to stop. But before he can, Peter cuts that man's ear off. Okay? So if you want to be an image of God, and you really want to know God, even when people were persecuting you and fighting you got to know that to let your enemies will be handled. Okay? Pray for your enemies. And in this moment, he had to keep showing his miracles who he was, because this was organically and ordained, that he went to that same guard and he healed him. He healed that guard. And that's how you know in these stories that even the soldiers that arrested him started believing in him. It wasn't only his own disciples that was fighting him. This man, the guard that wanted to arrest him, and Peter took his ear away. Jesus took his time while being arrested to heal this man's ear. That was his heart. That was his humility. That was his purpose, to show love. No matter what y'all do to me, I know you're about to start arrest me and do all this to me, but I'm here for love. He ain't changed his humility. He ain't changed his heart. No anger came. He actually was a willing sacrifice. That's why he was in that garden. That garden of Gethsemane was so important for him to gain his strength to do this, to have this perseverance to go through with this. So that's how he got his strength, by going in that garden while he told Peter and them to be on the lookout, and they fell asleep, to get his power. That Last Supper, teaching people the night before to wash each other's feet, love your neighbor, teaching them to not live on food alone, And this moment, again, this Roman soldier wasn't in at the Last Supper. Jesus couldn't teach him there. Jesus is still teaching during that rest. He's teaching love. He's teaching healing. He's showing miracles. So this what was happening during the night. Strategically planned. God is showing up and showing out, even during Jesus' crucifixion. Okay. So to move on, because we know we don't have all day and all night, I'll have to show you the whole movie, because this is the Passion of Christ. If you want to see this movie, this is the Passion of Christ, and you go watch it. When Jesus was arrested, I'm going to move on down. Let me see if I have. When he was arrested, because these are the guards and they take him, and he was telling Peter and that night at the Last Supper, it's going to be betrayal tonight. Someone's going to betray me. But they didn't understand his parables. They didn't understand that Judas was going to do this. So now that this is all happening, Peter, he want to fight for his man. Some of the disciples is running. John looking astonished. Peter ready to fight. And this is how we're going to be. When the enemy come, you want to be on point. You want to be like Jesus. Don't let him distract you, want to get anger in you. Don't let him distract you to want to run like one of the disciples do. Stand in your truth, remain in your purpose, and wait for God to show up and show out. And that's what Jesus was doing. He was using his healing power to show these people that he was not scared. Okay? And now we're going to go down here where I just was showing you Mary, that when Jesus was arrested, he had to remember. He had to remember, and that's why I had to show you Mary here when she's remembering Jesus, because this is when she's about to see him with this cross. She's seeing Jesus walk by with this cross. And she said, Dad, I remember my baby when I used to could care for him. I could just pick him up and run and take him home. This day, when she crying, that day, that face, oh, that ain't young Mary. That ain't, let me show you, that ain't this Mary. See that face? That's young Mary. When she could count. And I remember those days when I could protect my baby from anything. I could walk him to school. I could protect him from anything. Now, this is old Mary. This was her baby 33. The enemy got him. She been filled up for waiting for this day. But she's human. She's scared. She's hurting. She in pain. She want to help her baby because she's seeing her baby like this. He is falling. He is walking with a cross. He is a human sacrifice. Only certain people know this, and she is one of them. The disciples is confused. They didn't know that this was going to happen like this. They wondering, why did they arrest him? Why are they doing this to them? But Mary, no. Mary, no. And it's nothing she could do. It's nothing she could do. But she runs over to her baby. Yeah, she run over to her baby. She runs over to her baby and she gives him strength. Oh, yeah, she gives him strength. I don't know if I have that picture here, but here it goes. And she runs to her baby just like when he was little. She runs to him. She said, ain't no Roman soldier gonna stop her. And she go to him because you know what? That's the human flesh saying, oh no, I'm gonna go help my baby. And Jesus is on the floor, like I just showed you, with that cross when she runs over there. But when he see his mama, just like when he was little, the power of God come back in him to remind him, this is my mama. I gotta show her my strength. I gotta show her that I am the who? See, mother, I make all things new. Hallelujah. And that's how the power of God came back in him and in Mary. Because she had to remember why God gave him to her. He was a human sacrifice. Yeah, he's her son. He's her child, you know. But that's really God's son. He was just a gift to her. And just imagine the pain that she had to hold and watch her baby go through all of this. All of this as a mother. So they put her baby, because they whooped him. They beat him. They spit on him. They did every human thing. They almost gouged his eyes out. You can see his eyes. And they put him on that cross and they humiliated him and they talked and they laughed and they mocked. Yeah. Yeah, that's what they did on that day, which was yesterday. And they say, prove to us you are who you say you are. Prove it. Prove it. If you are who you say you are, come down. Get yourself down. You are the Son of God. Bring yourself. Why your God ain't saving you? They all laughing at him. They're all gonna laugh at you. They're humiliating him. Do you see the stripes? That's just a mere image, right? All these people are gathered around. Now, on each side, we got real criminals. They hardly ain't got no marks on them. You can still see their pretty, pearly skin. Tan, whatever color skin. Jesus is bloody. Never did one blemish. Never fell for any temptation of this world. The only man everybody can agree about Jesus was he never harmed nobody and fell for any temptation or try. All he wanted to do was heal people, bring healing, help his sheep. Okay? All these people standing around mocking him. Okay, I didn't mean to show that yet. I wanted to show this. Look in his eyes. That right there, the Passion of Christ. You know, I don't watch this movie a lot, guys. And if you don't get this image embedded in you, and when you close your eyes, you just thinking, oh, this is a regular mojo God. This is Jesus. He didn't go through a lot. You know, he didn't have to do this. He never did nothing. And he could have fought. He could have ran, as I showed y'all in the previous things. He had time. His disciples would have fought for him. They could have called for backup. He could have ran. He could have dodged out. He gave himself willingly. And look in his eyes. Look in his eyes. Those two people who I showed you next to him, the two people right here, right? That is one of them saying, I have sinned and my punishment is just. That's one of them saying, we know why we up here, but we don't know why you up there. And Mary, who again, have to see her baby up here. I really want to show this part because it's nothing like a mother's love. An unconditional love. That unconditional love when you gave birth to something and you raised this person, right? This is Mary saying to her son, my son, let me die with you. And that's John. That's why I keep telling you, John was the cousin. That man, he stayed there through the crucifixion. He wasn't that one of those disciples that ran and was scared to say, hey, they're going to put me up there. He stand right there with Mary. He stood through the fire. From the beginning, John stood right there. And Mary said, let me die with you. I don't want to live without you. Mary went and kissed his bloody feet. That's how hurt she was. They finally let her go up to her baby before he died. They finally let her walk up. Not like a casket where we walk up and see our dead kids. He's on a cross. He's still breathing. How much we gotta mourn for our children and loved ones in a casket. She's watching her baby alive like an animal on a cross. And she goes and kiss her baby feet. She go kiss her baby feet. Mary. That's the blood on her lips from Christ's feet. Watch the Passion of Christ, guys. Y'all want to know the real sacrifice? Don't just worry about, it's Good Friday, we're going to eat fish. It's Palm Sunday, we're going to run and get our palm. Holy Thursday is the Last Supper. Let's wash each other's feet. No, let's remember each moment that Jesus had to go through during this Holy Week and all his days. His mother was so used to protecting him that she couldn't believe that this was the day of her baby's sacrifice. And this is the blood of her baby on her lips. She want to die with him. You hear me? That's the love that we are supposed to have for Christ. Not telling you to go commit suicide or any of that nonsense, but you are a living sacrifice that you are a slave, for your purpose, for your ministry. Just try to emulate Jesus as being a lamb for us, the humility, what he went through. Just remember that. Remember that. Remember the bloodshed, remember the blood that stripes. Remember, he came to make all things new. He was weak, just like us, but he was never tempted. God made him man, that he felt all the pain we felt. He was in there almost crying out tears of blood in the Garden of Gethsemane before they arrested him. He was so scared. He was in there asking God, can we do this another way? Why today? Why tonight? Is it really about to happen? The same way we be in our closets crying out to God. Jesus was the same way, but he went forth with his purpose. Okay? So we got to go forth no matter what we see, no matter what. You think he wanted to die? You think he wanted to leave his mother? You think he wanted to leave his cousin? Think he wanted to leave his friends? But he willingly walked to his death. Some of us don't even want to die by mistake. He willingly walked to his death. He was a willing, living sacrifice. You know why? Because God been trying to tell us over and over and over for years, since the beginning of time when it happened in the Garden of Eden. And we can't hear it. So he had to send a human being to be like us, to be born in a manger, to walk around poor people, to not have no riches, to be a regular man, to fall in love with him from a child up until them 33 something years he lived here, and walked into this willingly, right? that we know by his stripes, that hole in that hand, we know that he was risen. He came back and ascended to free us. But we don't want to get to Sunday so fast because that's tomorrow. We want to remember the pain. Okay? We just want to remember that. Because when we forget that part, that's how we walk around with egos and pride, and it's all about us. We don't remember the living sacrifice. We thinking about Easter, the Easter egg. We thinking about let's have fish for Friday. Let's have Sunday dinner. That's what we thinking about. Okay? And God is not impressed with none of the clothes you're wearing, none of that stuff that's about to happen. Yeah, he loves family because you know what? At that family dinner, plant some seeds. At that family dinner, remember Jesus. At that family dinner, watch a movie, The Passion of Christ. Put that on. Try that. Try that. Don't be like these people who are just watching to see the sacrifice, waiting for Sunday. And I'm about to end this. What is your Garden of Gethsemane? The account of Jesus praying in the Garden of Gethsemane, how I started this was before he was taken away to be crucified. It was one of the most personal glimpses into the relationship between Jesus and who? His Father. It shows us how the close relationship and trust with Jesus with his Father. So he trusted God with God's plan. Period. Now, if you want to be like Jesus, what is that saying? No matter what, you got to trust God with his plan. So you got to remember what Jesus went through to make God's plan go forth. What Jesus was given wasn't much, but his purpose was so much more. He was a sheep in a shepherd in the wilderness for many years, not surrounded by plentiful things, big lavish things, a lot of money. His intimacy was being quiet. Okay, hearing the whispers in the wind. That was his prosperity. So what is your prosperity? Where's your garden? Where's your closet? You know, what is your intimacy with God? That's what Jesus was here for, to show that we need to have a relationship with God. Get in your closet, get in your war room. Okay, that's what's gonna impress God. Okay. Yeah, of course. Bring family together. Have a good time on this Easter, like we do on every holiday. Like we do on every holiday. But see, the enemy wants to keep you. That's why he slithers on in through family members, friends, fake holiday, Easter, I was getting ready to say, traditions. Okay. He seeps in through that so you could forget the real message. That's how he seeps in. He seeps in so you could forget the real season for the reason. Okay? You don't want to be like Peter and them sleeping while Jesus has already been sacrificed for us. You don't want to be like Peter and them sleeping in the garden and he got to come wake you up. They couldn't even watch for an hour. So imagine us. Okay, and they was disciples. They was filled up. And they wasn't even on point. So imagine us people who don't have this relationship with God. Yeah, we're not going to be on point. But the whole point is now, remember these stories. Just like you read everything else, so you be on point when you go to college, or when you go to police school academy, when you learn how to be a doctor, you learn how to, or you learn how to be a great thief. You learn how to do that, to break the safe. You learn everything strategically. Learn strategically your power on how to trick the enemy, how not falling for the trick of the enemy. Try that. But if you still sleep on a clock, okay, and it's almost 2,000 years later, and you still like the disciples, and they already told you they were asleep, and you still sleep, you want to be asleep. You just want to be asleep, okay? I'm sorry to tell y'all. It's no excuse. So here, we're going to end that with a little bit of that. This is Closet Chronicles. This is my Garden of Gethsemane, okay? This is my solace place, okay? And I want to challenge y'all. Challenge you to be alert. Stay woke. Don't sleep on the job. Okay? Fight for him. Like Peter was ready to fight and cut off that man's ear. I said, do it with the Holy Spirit. Do it by helping people, showing love. You ain't got to do it physically. You don't got to come out your character, but fight for him and stand in your truth. Don't let people tell you differently. Don't have the clothes on, but you dead inside. Don't have the appearance, but inside you dead. You know, you don't got to be perfect. He don't want you to be perfect. He wants you to be who you are. That's why he ain't go tell Peter them they couldn't be disciples. He just went and woke them up. My man, it's about to happen tonight. Y'all don't even know. And then keep your strength, because how Jesus kept his strength? Before he was arrested, he went to his father. So that's how you keep your strength. You're going to go through mad stuff, guys. It's going to feel like the end of the world. You may lose a loved one. Your child may be sick. You may be sick. You may lose your job. Whatever may be your lowliest place. But you're going to have to go to the Father. You're going to have to go to his hand when you at your lowliest place. Okay? You have to be in your isolation time. You're going to have to remove people. You're going to have to be on point. Okay? So you can live out your purpose. So that's the point of remembering Jesus. He came here to live out a purpose, right? With humility and love, even when you're scared, even when he was feeling with anxiety, he went into his garden and he asked Father God, why? And God answered him, and he received that answer, and he still went with the purpose. Okay, this movie is The Passion of Christ. It's The Passion of Christ. You can watch it free on Tubi TV. You can catch it on Amazon. Guys, I've seen this movie since it came out, maybe about 10 times. It is so powerful because it's so descriptive that if you watch this, you like scary movies, and you watch all these other movies with a Lifetime, and you watch all these gory movies, or you like mysteries or figuring it out, and you need to sit down and watch this, because this is going to leave an impact in your life. It's going to leave an impact. Take it that you got the time, your mind is clear, your heart is able to receive it. Don't sit down like, oh God, I got to watch this. Well, I got to read the subtitles. Sit down with your popcorn and your humility. Become like I showed y'all. And I'm going to show y'all again at the end. Hold on right now. And I'm about to end it, guys, because I have to do my thing. We got to get back. I'm sorry. Take this off. We have to get back with our humility when we get back like Jesus as a child. Okay? This is Jesus not wanting that lamb who's a regular sheep, and that's his father Joseph, telling him about story time. Same way I'm telling y'all story time. When Abraham had almost sacrificed his son, and also that they had to sacrifice every year a real lamb for their sins. And Jesus is sad at this time. He don't want to sacrifice this lamb. But he doesn't know that he is the real lamb sacrifice. And Joseph doesn't know either. He just knows that Jesus is the Messiah. But he don't know that one day Jesus is going to be on that cross, because Joseph is dead by the time Jesus gets sacrificed. But God plants these seeds as a little kid, and we got to just keep this humility, guys. Keep this humility. Keep that in your heart when you go watch a movie like The Passion of Christ. Get back like a child. Don't get back in that mindset. You know everything. Why do I got to sit here and watch something? No, you want to be filled up. You want to be filled up. And just know that Jesus was a regular person like me and you. He was a regular person. Well, he was in his wilderness just like we are. Our wilderness is this day and times. He was a regular person walking around like me and you, okay? Wasn't no famous flattery guy. So on Easter, have this picture in your mind, okay? Have this picture of your mind. Have this picture of this person that God is testing him just like he tests all of us. He tests Jesus. And that's how Jesus got to this part. That's how Jesus got the strength. From a little boy up to being in the wilderness, up to the day that he was in, the night he was about to be arrested, which I just showed y'all. He was getting the strength from God. That's who he was getting his strength from. That's who he was getting his strength from. That's who remaining humble. Okay? Remaining humble. No matter what test God gave him, he remained loyal. So again, guys, this is the real season for the reason this week. This is Holy Week. Tomorrow is Easter. Again, we don't only want to remember Jesus. He is the good shepherd. We want to remember him every day because he's remembering us. He wants us to hear, he wants us for us to hear his voice, learn our purpose, have good in our heart, and just be transparent. Be like him, an ordinary person, but plant your seeds. Okay? Be a good shepherd, just like him. So I want y'all to have a blessed day, guys. Thank y'all for listening. I love y'all. And again, this is Lee Nicole, the Bachelorette, sipping tea. And I want to thank all my bachelorettes and bachelors out there for checking in today. Have a blessed Saturday and a happy Easter. And remember the season for the reason. Jesus loves us and he was a sacrifice of lamb. Love y'all.